Family twins. I
God.
always said I hate gin. I don't like
Yes.
gin. I'm not a gin person, and I realized it's not the gin that's
It's
the problem.
the
It's the tonic.
tonic.
Tonic is gross.
I literally, the first sip, I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's that aftertaste.
Yeah. So welcome to a new episode of A New Table, where local conversations are at the heart of global change. And we're here today in between Swindon and Oxford, and we're with Sarah Woodland of Dinky Ponies. Hi, welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be on this podcast and sharing with us a little bit about your fantastic business. So could you start by introducing Dinky Ponies? What is Dinky Ponies and what inspired you to get that started?
Well, Dinky Ponies is really just me and a team of mini Shetland ponies. We go out and visit lots of different people in care homes, schools, hospitals, children's homes, lots of different places. It's interesting when you said about where did it start, because it kind of just evolved. There wasn't really like a light bulb moment as such, but I a few years ago I got given a couple of mini Shetland ponies, and I was freelancing for a groom at the time, and I don't know what to say actually, it was Mark Todd, but he's quite a well-known eventer, and he's got Sir Mark Todd. And he had a field next door to these mini Shetland ponies. I asked who they belonged to. To cut a long story short, I sort of tracked down who the owners were, and we just went of the ponies, and we went to visit them. And over time, we got more and more involved with them. And the lady said, would you like to have them? Which is what I did, and I brought them back to where I am now. And someone else then approached me and said, do you want two more? So I thought, well, I can't really have lots of little ponies and not do anything with them. Mm-hmm. Ponies cost money. I need to be doing something with them and they have a job. So that's when I started to think about perhaps doing parties and things for the children that would benefit them and the ponies, so that sort of the ponies get a job and the children get some experience with the ponies.
So like ponies for hire, like a petting zoo.
And kind of like I didn't really have a plan. I just thought I'd go with the flow. So I applied for the council license, which I didn't realise would be quite so complicated, but that was fairly complicated, and then trying to find insurances and stuff to cover me. And then off I kind of went a few months down the line, and it was really good. That was last summer, and it was really popular. But towards the end of the summer, I thought, parties in the UK aren't going to be great outside. So I put a couple
because this was during COVID, right?
This was last summer.
Okay.
So this was
so right after, basically.
Yeah, so it was just the sort of first kind of proper year after COVID, like everything back to normal again. And so I put a couple of calls out to some care homes, and I was just so shocked with literally it just went ballistic. I think COVID had a big part to that, because I think where everybody had been doing not very much, especially in care homes and residential homes during COVID, I think their enrichment hadn't been as good as perhaps it had been before. So that probably did help me. But yeah, literally it just exploded. I have never advertised. I've only ever done social media.
Yes, and that's exactly how I found
you. Yeah. Which is, I always think social media is a good tool and a bad tool. I like it as a marketing tool and a platform to be able to display what I do, and I just love sharing, because the thing is, obviously I work on my own with the ponies a lot. I do often have some people come along and just sort of some moral support, but I'm often there on my own. So it's really nice to be able to share the experiences with people, which is what I like to do, obviously with the consent, because obviously the privacy is a little bit complicated, but so long as obviously you've got the consent from the home and from the residents, it's great. And then I love to be able to show everybody what the reactions are, and it's just brilliant. I love it. Yeah, I really enjoy it.
That's amazing. So did you have any previous, so obviously I know that you grew up around horses,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Did you, what was your, I guess your previous history or experience when it comes to like the therapeutic side of animals?
Not a massive, and I've never worked in the care sector. So it's really interesting and a massive eye-opener, because I did always want to be a nurse. I wasn't clever enough, so I couldn't do it in the end, but I did always want to go down that route. But no, I literally just went into it blind. I've done courses and stuff now.
Yeah.
It wasn't until just recently when I started to go into special schools with children with massive challenges, physically, mentally, and I thought, I need to have more knowledge. I need to have more behind me, because I could say something that actually is going to impact them.
Right, do more harm than good.
Exactly. So I started to do some courses and some online training and all that sort of stuff in conjunction with what I'm doing already. But no, I had no actual, other than doing psychology at A-level, I haven't really got any experience in that sort of things. But I do often say, especially when I go to, well, most places, to be honest, I'm there to look after the horse and to help with the interaction. But with the therapy side, if they are looking for very in-depth therapy, that's when the staff would be on hand to interact with them as well. Okay. So but a lot of it's to do with talking anyway. So it would be, sometimes it's just literally every session is different. So I'll always say I'm going to a school, I'll always say there isn't really a set procedure. I literally turn up and it's very fluid. So I will go with how the children are. Every child as well has different challenges.
Right.
Some of them will be motor skills, communication, some can't walk, some completely non-verbal. So it really, really depends on the child. Some will be very scared of the ponies. Some will be trying to jump on the ponies. So it's really understanding and adapting to each and every need in each child.
And I guess it can vary day by day, right? Because, maybe one day someone's having a worse day
absolutely.
than others.
No. I mean, so the homes that I go to regularly, there are a few homes that I go to once a month. And some people, it's like us, we all have different days. So some days someone will be very involved, some days maybe not so much. There is a couple of homes that I've been to. There's one that I go to regularly, an assisted living, and when I first went, it was one of my first ones actually. I remember going to at the end of last summer. One of the residents of the 6 was the only one that was really interacting, and I thought, maybe this isn't the best sort of port of call, but it was fine. The session went fine, but it was much more to do with the staff, which is what does happen quite a lot. So the staff got very involved, and then the one resident and the others all kind of just sat. They stayed, but they sat and watched. And they were all very hands-on. They were able to do things, but they were worried. But as I've gone along, and I've been, like I say, every month for the last almost year, now they are very able horsemen and women, because they are, I turn up, they get the brushes straight away, they go up straight to the ponies.
They've got no
staff fear.
Or the residents?
No, this is the residents.
Oh, amazing.
A few of them are non-verbal, but I should do a before and after, because it's incredible, because they have gone from not wanting any interaction to literally not letting the ponies go after the hour. And it's so lovely to see, because it's their confidence. And they've got their self-belief and their self-worth, and they've actually realised that they can do something. And this particular home said they really struggled to get these residents out and about and to do things. And this is one of the only things they all really enjoy doing.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's really when you hear stories like that, it really makes it worthwhile. It's really lovely, yeah.
So you mentioned that obviously you work with groups of children that have special needs.
Yeah.
And as well as you visit care homes.
Mm-hmm.
What is the portfolio of different organizations that you prioritize working with today?
Well, the main ones are the residential homes, so the elderly.
Okay.
They are very popular for enrichment purposes. I do go to a few schools. I'm trying to get into some more schools. I think it may be more to do with financial implications with the schools. They're not quite so forthcoming. They are, and once I've been to one, I find that once I've been to a couple, the others all kind of tag along. But they have been great, and you can really see how good they are.
But what do you mean by it's the financial implication? Like schools might have less money?
Yes,
okay.
I think so. I mean, I don't know for sure, and I'm sure a lot of schools have the enrichment funds, as do the care homes.
Right.
But whether or not schools believe that maybe having a pony there isn't such a benefit to maybe something else they have for enrichment. But then once they've been they go, we must do this again. You can see how much enjoyment everyone's got from it. So I just think it's that little bit of a unknown, isn't it? People aren't too sure until they try it.
And then they're hooked.
Yeah, so maybe. But yeah, that's my avenue. But we volunteer. I take a pony a month to the hospital, to the local hospital, in Great Western, and we volunteer there in the voluntary service, and they're great. They organise it, so every month we go to a different ward. They've got it all planned out for the year ahead, so they know exactly we're going to A&E next month, which will be interesting. So yeah, and I love doing that. That's a really, I try and do as much voluntary stuff as I can, because I just think it's great. But I have to be careful with the ponies; they don't do too much. Right. So I kind of
you don't want to overwork.
No,
them.
And I try, and they alternate it as much as they can. And you were saying about the different venues, so each pony is good at their own forte, if you like. So I've got one that's particularly good with the elderly. She's very quiet, she's very calm, she doesn't like lots of noise and fast movements, so the elderly are obviously perfect for her. They're nice and calm and steady and patient. And then I've got a couple of others who are amazing with loud noise, banging, crashing. Literally they get jumped on. And obviously that's not children. Ideal. Yeah. Obviously that's not ideal, but I know, and the staff will look at me and they'll say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I know that the ponies, obviously I'm there. I can read the body language and the signs, so I can see the ponies are okay. They're happy. But Poppy, the one that was the elderly, she definitely wouldn't like that sort of thing. Yeah. So they all kind of do their own thing. So that then helps me if I try and, when I'm planning my diary, I try and do a varied amount of different things. If I put a party in the mix and I've got a really good pony that all the children love because she looks like a unicorn, so she then does parties. So it's just trying to mix it up a bit. And also for us, because I think it's nice to see different people. I love seeing the elderly, and I love sitting and talking to them, and I mean the stories I hear is amazing. But also it's great to have the other side, and you do the younger children, and you see all the benefits for that as well. So it's lovely. It's great to do a mixture.
Well, it's interesting that when you were saying that different ponies have their different expertise, and earlier in the conversation where you're saying, I'm not the therapist, I'm just there assisting the horses, who are basically the therapist, and they each have their specialization.
They all have their little niche. Yeah, absolutely. And it's massively, their temperaments and their personalities are totally what I have to look for when I'm looking for a good pony, because you want the empathy, you want them to be patient and kind and bomb-proof. I mean, that's quite a good thing.
And bomb-proof?
Yeah, so we say in the horse,
in horse world,
a bomb-proof pony is like the golden ticket, because anything could happen and it just stands there looking at you as if to say, what's happened. Yeah, exactly.
That's important.
So yeah.
How big is your fleet? I mean, can you say that? Or
I call it a fleet.
A fleet, yeah.
No, in my herd.
Your herd,
so at the moment I've got 5.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm looking for a 6th.
Oh, you're looking for a 6th?
Yes.
So but now you've got...
So I've got Poppy. Tinks,
they're
which
the
is
two
Tinkerbell,
popular,
which is
right?
because they are my bomb-proof ones.
Okay, got it.
And they're the eldest, so they've been there, they've done it.
They've paid their dues. They do the calm.
Yeah, and I mean Tinks, bless her, she does kind of get use quite often because she is just so she's my most like a mule though, so if she doesn't want to do something she won't do it.
Okay.
But she is a saint. She'll just do whatever, mostly what I ask her. And then I've got the three, I call them the babies. They're not really babies, but they are younger. So I've got Abby, who's 10, and then Georgie, who's a little bit younger at 9, and then Gracie, who's my baby. She's 4 going on 5.
Okay. Oh, see, like that's crazy because I guess I really just don't know much about horses. I assume that how long do horses live? Because
Well,
I mean,
my
5
sister-
being a baby in my
Yeah,
head. Because
yeah.
I'm thinking in dog years.
Yeah,
and some
no.
dogs.
Well, my sister's got a Shetland pony who's 35.
Wow.
So,
no way.
yeah. So I would say Poppy and Tinks are 14 and 15. And I'd say that's kind of middle age. Like that's
Okay.
probably 40 in human years. So, yeah, but I mean, like anything, lifestyle, genes,
Yeah.
just depends, doesn't it? So,
And you got them only a few years ago,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
And so now that you're looking for a 6th one, because so your first 4, I think they were
Mm-hmm.
given to you.
Yeah.
So would you consider yourself a bit of a horse rescuer?
If you ask my husband, probably
He'll
get a
say
hoarder.
Same thing.
Yeah, same sort of thing. I wouldn't say I'm a rescuer, but I do like to collect them. But I am only allowed 6. The field I have
Yeah.
only allows me to have 6 on there. So this 6th one is really important that I get it right. And it, like I said, it's all about the temperament. It's all
Yeah.
about finding the right pony to do the job. There are so many ponies out there, and I really did want to rehome rather than, because someone said, oh, you can breed your own, but I think there's so many animals already that we can actually make do. And I had so many lovely messages because I did put a couple of adverts out just to sort of say I was looking for another one, and I had so many
People reach out.
yeah, which was lovely, but I've been quite picky. I feel like I have to. If it's my last one at this field, so I need to be able to say that, and I need to have one that can go out on its own. So Poppy is the only one that I can take out on her own.
Okay.
The others like to be in pairs. So
Is there a reason for that?
well, they're social animals. They get worried, so it takes quite a bit of confidence for them to go out, especially. They go into care homes, they go in lifts, they go upstairs. They don't actually go upstairs, but they go onto a different floor. So they need to be able to be happy and relaxed, because obviously most ponies would be able to go inside somewhere, but actually whether or not they would then be relaxed and calm and do their job once they were inside is a different story. So I do need to find one that will also work on its own. So Poppy hasn't got quite so much work to do, but yeah.
I'm sure obviously if it was just for, I know you call yourself a bit of a collector, but if they were just pets, I guess you would be maybe more willing to take on one with a temperament, but you have to consider they need to be able to work, and
they need to be able to work, and also it's the structure within their herd. So they all get on really well. So it's bringing another one into that herd, and because they live out, they live as ponies. They live out in the field. They have got shelter, but they kind of fend for themselves quite a bit. Shetland ponies are from the Shetlands, so they're hardy little creatures. So they're really good. But finding the one, it'll come. I know it'll come.
The right one
it'll
will come.
faint. Yeah, it'll be faint. So we'll see.
I'm glad that you mentioned their facilities, because I think that's something very important to say to our audience, because I can almost hear the, people thinking, animals are meant to be collected, or putting animals to work, but actually they've got an amazing field, a lot of outdoor space. They're not overcrowded. They have shelter. They have open spaces. You run them, and you make sure that their schedule is to their benefit too, right? Because they are social creatures.
Yeah, and they have a holiday like everybody else. We give them time off. But the main thing with me, I really feel like I like any animal to be in its natural habitat. So I do think as much as possible to have them in their environment that they're used to and they're happy with and they're comfortable with. I have learned, especially with this British weather, that the day before they work, they are in a stable because, well, actually, if the weather's looking bad, that's when they get stabled for the night. If the weather's nice and dry and no problems, they can stay out. But over winter, I definitely had some challenges with turning up at the field and finding like a completely drowned, muddy pony that I had maybe like 2 hours to turn into some sort of clean.
Oh, not literally drowned.
No,
you mean
no,
wet.
no, like literally like wet, like as wet as you can, like proper drowned rat, I should say. Yeah. So I realised actually there are a couple of tricks that I need to do before most sessions, because obviously in the middle of the winter, you know, we'll be absolutely as wet as can be, and then we go into a care home with all these elderly people who are nice and dry and clean, and then I've got, you know, you've got to try and keep the hygiene up. So yeah, I've realised that they need to be stabled. I'm
excited for us to meet them.
Yeah.
If we can deep dive into the animal therapy side, because I think that's super interesting. So obviously, you know, I found it, so I did a bit of research, and it was really fascinating to see how animal therapy, or, you know, using animals for therapeutic use, can be traced back to ancient Greece.
Okay.
And with horses, actually, where basically they would use horses for like morale and spirit boosting for soldiers, and also to help them physically rehab, like on horseback for the injured ones. But obviously there's like recorded parts, you know, early 1900s with the US military using therapeutic or dogs in therapeutic situations to help soldiers with like PTSD and all of that. So in terms of like the sort of in the therapy conversation, where do you see Dinky Ponies contributing to that? Like, where do you see that there's the most impact?
Well, that's quite a hard one, because I always think, oh, it's, I don't know, say the elderly, and then I'll go to a school and I think, actually, no, it's a really big impact. I think the elderly long for it the most. Like, they really enjoy having something to talk about, having something to focus on. I find quite a lot, I'll turn up and people's history will start coming out in their conversation, because they'll be used to be living on a farm, or they used to be a horse rider, you know, their stories and their memories suddenly sort of be revisited. And sometimes the staff will sort of say, oh, you know, I didn't know that about so and so. So I do really feel like we owe it to the elderly to, I don't know, just to sort of help them. And the amount of loneliness, depression, anxiety, you know, all those sort of things in homes is really sad. And I don't know, when I go, the smiles on people's faces is really lovely. We have tears. It's quite hard to see sometimes they will get quite emotional. Most of the time it's happy tears. Well, they always say it, happy tears.
Like
I don't know. It's hard. It's just hard because you can see what their lives have been hard, and they just enjoy having that comfort, and even just the touch, you know, of an animal. And there's quite a few people that will say, I've never stroked a pony before. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but that's what they say. And you just think, my goodness, you know, it's incredible what you can actually allow people to do. But I don't know. I think every facility needs, you know, there's not really one area that I think impacts the most, because I just think, you know, when I go to homes with people that have really severe difficulties, you know, I went to one just recently where it was 5 middle-aged gentlemen who were all non-verbal, all in wheelchairs, couldn't really move. And we just placed their hands on the ponies for an hour, and you could see the smiles and you could see the light in their eyes. Just, you know, you just thought, even if for that hour you've made it a happy time and a happy experience and something for them to enjoy, then that's all that really matters. But it is difficult. There are challenges, and there are, you know, I come away thinking sometimes, you know, I hope I've done enough.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, because I mean, the benefits are countless. And I guess no matter who you do see, from anxiety to depression, you were saying loneliness.
Yeah. Even having a topic of conversation. So even having something, because you know, when my nan was in a home and you go and visit, there's only so much you can talk about, especially if they're suffering with dementia or, you know, so actually even having a topic of conversation. So the staff will say, long after I've gone, oh my gosh, everyone was talking about the ponies all day, which is really lovely.
Yeah.
And then when we're there, we're talking about what they're wearing on. They have their little special shoes, and they have, like, sometimes haven't put a bridle on that's got little diamantes on and stuff. And it's just having a focal point and something to just talk about and to laugh about and to, you know, have fun with. And I think in a lot of people's lives, they haven't got that interest. They haven't got something that they can, I don't know, how they can enjoy so much. So it's just lovely to be able to go in somewhere and create a bit of happiness and just, you know, come away thinking, you know, that was good. Especially if they go and do something silly and then everyone laughs and then you think, oh my God, okay, they're laughing at us now, not with us. But, you know, it's fine. It creates conversation and it creates communication and people to laugh and have a joke about. So
just having, I think, variety too, right, in the schedule. Because I mean, I think we hear also a little bit about the darker sides of, you know, the elderly being put in homes where they don't get as many visits from their family members, and it's just about maintaining them rather than enriching them.
Exactly.
So having that additional thing to just perk up and look forward to.
And there are, and it's when I walk around and when I return to the same homes and I see the pictures of the ponies on the residence walls, and that's really lovely. And I went to one, I've got a shiver, but I went to one and their family did a little photo album for their Christmas, and in there were pictures of the ponies with when they were with them. And I just thought, you know, it's just a really nice thing because it obviously creates memories, and it's lovely when there are families that are actually there at the same time as the visits, because you get like little grandchildren or the great grandchildren with their grandparents, and you know, there's something
it's
for
like
them
an activity to do together.
So it's really nice. But we went to one just recently. There was a bit of a muck up with communication, and I made a mistake on the timings, and so we actually turned up at the same time that the pianist was in, which was fine, and the home were brilliant. They said, no, we'll do it together. So in we went with the ponies, while the pianist was playing, and what happened was we had like a pony sing-along. So everyone was
so
singing,
cute.
and it was like, so there was two enrichments going on at the same time, which kind of combined, and the atmosphere was brilliant. It was so lovely, and you just think, actually, you know, it creates happiness, doesn't it? Anything that, you know, enjoyment for people is great, and that's what I think we need to do more of with the elderly. But yeah,
do you feel like it's an underserved group?
It's really hard. I don't know. I mean, I go to so many homes and they're all looked after so brilliantly. Like, I haven't come across a home that hasn't looked after them to a standard that I would think. They're all very different. I mean, I'm amazed how different the homes are. But I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? It's a lot of them have a very cruel disease, dementia, and it's very hard and frustrating and difficult. But I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, really.
But they get to have a nice moment when the ponies come visit. Yeah,
exactly.
I think for people who are, you know, at home watching and listening to this, even if they haven't necessarily experienced animal therapy, I'm sure a lot can relate, because, you know, for pet owners, like, that's also proven to have so many
therapeutic benefits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what I thought was really interesting is, even because, you know, we all of course think of the mental health and the emotional aspect of it, but you were calling out the social impact that it does. Yeah. And how that can, I guess, like, maybe bridge conversations between people. I mean, I'm seeing the parallel of, like, people going to dog parks and being able to have a little social moment, which we all need. But then you have the ponies, and I guess that's when everyone kind of comes together They've got stuff to talk about after when you leave.
Yeah.
And to look forward to when you come back.
Yeah, no, the staff do say it a lot. They say, you know, it really does have an impact. Well, obviously, I think it would. If you've got a live animal going into a building, that's going to cause, you know, a bit of a ruckus, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're going to talk about it, especially if you see a pony going. I mean, it's funny, when we go to the hospital and we go up in the lift, it's interesting when we go...
That's a weird sight. I'm sure people make double takes.
I know, and that's exactly what I'm about to say. So we go up in the lift and, you know, we'll stop at each floor because that's what happens normally. And the doors will open and the people... I must video it because the people's faces as they're waiting to go into the lift and they see the pony waiting in the lift to go up, they almost think that they're like...
Huh?
Yeah, double taking. But I mean, it's great. I love it. It's funny. It does make people sort of turn and have a little look. But yeah, it's, although when we were up at the 4th floor the other day, there was a power cut. I heard someone say...
Oh, no, wait, so you can't, the horse can't walk up the stairs?
No, we haven't done that work yet. That is a work in progress though, because they do need to be able to do the stairs. But I did think, oh, you know, this is interesting. We're on the 4th floor with a power cut, but being a hospital, they've got generators and we had no problems getting back down again. But I did think to myself at one point, oh, this could be a long day up on the 4th floor, but it was fine. It was no problem.
So speaking of, because I guess when you go to the hospital and you visit children, so obviously the benefits of visiting care homes with the elderly that are there, when it comes to the impact of children, I know you work with a lot of children that have more complex needs.
Yeah.
What are the benefits there? I mean, I know that we talked about the socialization and then the behavioural impact that it has.
It's great again for the communication. So you've got a focal point, you've got things to do. It's very good for fine motor skills. So
can you elaborate?
Yeah. So like quite often we have like bows that have little clips. So even just trying for the children, and at parties even, it doesn't even have to be at special schools or mainstream schools or whatever, but even just trying to put a clip onto the mane, you know, you'll see the concentration in their face. And actually when they've done it, especially I was at a party the other day with little 3-year-olds and they were all trying to do it, and when they actually managed to put the bow on the mane, you know, you'd have thought they'd won £5,000 or something. It was brilliant. But it's just having that self-belief as well, and having a self-worth, and that they can do something. And going back to sort of like the special schools, when there are children with lots of different complex needs, even just learning to brush the pony, feel the pony, just to, you know, is it soft, is it rough, and then when they lead the pony as well. I went to a home the other day, a respite home, with a little boy who could walk but very difficult with big difficulty, and he led the pony, and the smile on his face when he was sort of on the home stretch, if you like, of him leading her all on his own, and he was walking back towards us all, and you know, you could see how proud he was of himself that he was leading a pony, and he struggles to walk, but he could do that, you know. And it's just, I don't know, it's the confidence building, isn't it? And
that's nice.
Yeah, it's just, it gives them something. It gives, and they can feel that they're contributing. And especially if you go back, like I said, to the homes, and each time they get a little bit better, and each time they get a little bit more confident.
And more confident.
Yeah.
And more accustomed to the ponies too.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? And so then it's not a life skill as such, but it gives them a purpose, doesn't it? And if they know how to pick out a horse's feet, or if they know how to brush a tail, or, you know, point a part of the pony out, you know, it's all education. So it's great. It helps.
Or I would think even just, you know, like the connection, like you said, to an animal, even just touching them, or their noses feeling acknowledged by another sentient being.
They love giving them kisses.
Loved. Yeah.
It's really interesting. You know, the ponies, thankfully, are very kind. I don't hand feed them, which is really important, because especially little ponies.
How come?
Well, they'll learn then that hands are food. And obviously with them being around people so much, with the elderly, and people don't really, you know, the ponies will just fall asleep in their laps and they'll have their hands really close to them, to their mouths. So I'm really strict on non-feeding with the hand. So the ponies will literally like be completely safe to
kiss or to
kiss.
touch.
Yeah. So and I don't know what it is. I mean, it's just one of those things, isn't it? I mean, even the elderly love it. You know, they just love having that interaction.
Do you sometimes do one-on-one sessions, or do you strictly
Yeah, no, I do pretty much. I mean, I haven't really got one facility that does the same. Everyone's different, and I did a funeral the other day for somebody.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, because it was for a home, a lady who I'd been to visit a few times, who was 100, beautiful lady. Her granddaughter organised last year for us to visit her because she was struggling and she was housebound, and so we went and did a visit, and it was really lovely. And then they invited us back to her 101 birthday a few months ago, which was really lovely. And then sadly she died not that long ago, and the family really wanted the two ponies to lead her into the chapel, and it was very moving. I know. It was very touching. I was really touched they even asked.
Oh, sorry.
But it was the video and the pictures. It was very, very lovely. And I didn't want anything for it. I wanted to do it as a gesture. Yeah. And but I did say if they, obviously if they wanted to make a donation, that would be lovely. But it wasn't essential. And then they asked all of their family not to do flowers and to make donations to the Dinky Ponies.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, it was like incredible. So I felt a bit embarrassed to begin with, because I just thought, but that's what she would have wanted. So it was really lovely.
I mean, I'm really touched because you really see the impact that it had indirectly with the families, like knowing that the ponies brought joy to their grandmother, great grandmother, and and just feeling also, I think funerals can be really special in the way that you get to honor the person in a really loving, positive way, as as sad as funerals can be. So just knowing that probably brought a lot of relief to the family members who were also there.
And I think that was it, wasn't it? Because the granddaughter, who I'm actually very good friends with now, as soon as she knew that I could do the date for the funeral, she said, I feel so much happier about the funeral now, knowing they're going to be there. And that was really touching, because I don't know, it's just one of those things, isn't it, that it made them feel better. It made them feel, and it was a celebration. I mean, crikey, to get to 101, and she was an amazing lady, absolutely amazing. But so Hannah, the granddaughter, walked the ponies in front of her, and they walked into the chapel, and it was lovely. It was really special.
That's sweet.
Yeah. So no, but going back to your original question, we kind of do anything.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We kind of. I went to a bakery as well the other day. We did like a bakery wanted
the
us
ponies baked bread.
Well, no, they're not. They haven't got that quite good yet.
We should bring them to Sourdough Revolution.
I mean,
for their new school.
Yeah. Could you imagine? No, they had like a children's. I forgot what she actually called it now, but they had 20 children. They made some cookies in the first hour, and then they did pony decorating in the second hour. So,
that's so sweet.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
Wait, what do you mean pony decorating?
So that we decorated the ponies with the bows and the brushes,
cute. Okay.
And we didn't decorate them with food.
Sprinkles.
Could you imagine that? Yeah, little unicorns. No. So that was good. But no, we do. It's very strange with the requests we get. Yeah. But
So do you do like private, let's say one-on-one? It can just be like at someone's private home.
Yes.
You can do that as well.
Yeah.
Do you need particular licenses for that?
No. I mean, because it's like I said. So I call it a session. So I would go along, and if the weather's kind to us, we go in the garden. If it's not, then we sometimes are inside. But they're just literally being brushed and groomed and pampered and cuddled, and it's just having some time one-on-one with that pony. And parents will say, my child has got this problem or has got that problem, and I just want to treat them, or I just want something special, or I just want them to appreciate animals, or everyone has so many different stories. And I do find, even when people say, this person may be a little bit troublesome, or I've never, I've been very lucky, touch wood, they've always been so respectful of the ponies. I even went to a school the other day I'll stop him in a second.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was going to say the name of it, then I suddenly thought I'd better not, because it's like a special school. But I think we just get my words right. I'm going to say it's a children's home.
Okay.
So it's a children's home, but they're there 365 days of the year.
Okay.
And it's all boys. There's only about, I don't know, I want to say maybe 6 or 8 children there. And when the lady emailed me, she sort of said, you know, when you pull up in the car park, please make sure you lock your car, don't leave anything outside your car. So I was kind of a bit taken back.
Mm-hmm.
I'd done my research, you know, I'd looked at the school, but hadn't really thought too much of it. And then when I turned up, there were quite a lot of boarded up windows, and it was a beautiful house. It was a lovely, lovely house in the middle of the country. And I must admit, it was one of the ones when I thought, oh, you know, have I made the wrong decision here?
Yeah.
Is this a bit too much? And I was so wrong. I honestly was so wrong. You could see the boys had challenges. You could see there was behavioural problems, but they've all got their reasons, and they were all so respectful of the ponies. I could not fault them. But what was interesting is we had the session for an hour and a half, and they were brilliant. They were walking the ponies around their gardens, they're brushing them, they're doing all the normal stuff, and then it was the end of the session, and off they went, and their behaviour completely changed. I suddenly saw what the teachers were talking about, and they were away from the animals, and I thought, wow, you know, for that hour and a half, I wouldn't have thought anything different. But it just goes to show, I mean, when people do put their minds to it, they can actually accomplish things that they don't think they can. And most of them had never dealt with ponies before, or probably animals. So it was really, really interesting to see what happened in that session.
I think it brings it back to this, I think you mentioned earlier, you said the word purpose, and I'm listening to that story, and I'm thinking about, like, you know, bringing a sense of responsibility to people
and direction.
Yeah,
I think
I'm thinking of this. I can't remember exactly. You know, I saw this story at some point. There's this like prison program that brought in. Must have been in North America, and they had this program where you could apply to adopt a cat.
Okay.
In the prison.
Yeah.
And basically, you know, you would be assigned your pet, and if you obviously displayed bad behavior, or, you know, something happened, then there was a risk of the pet being taken away. But this, like, I mean, through the roof of improvement on, I mean, obviously behavior, because there's like, it's not just the incentivization. I think it's just there's a real bond, and you feel responsible to take care
for
of
another living thing.
Yeah, that is yours, that you love.
Yeah.
But I think there's also that, just, you know, feeling. I think they saw also just the levels of anxiety decreasing and of stress decreasing, because that just generally brings a lot of joy. So I can see how. Having these things can really have a lot of
impact.
Yeah,
because they are responsible for that hour and a half. You know, I kind of obviously helicoptering a little bit, but I kind of give them the pony in that time, and that's what I was saying earlier. There's never really a direction, so I always sort of will say, you know, you can do this or you can do that. But you'll find that the children they'll either enjoy, I don't know, brushing more, or they'll enjoy the leading side, or even just standing and talking to them. So they'll find for that hour and a half that they, like you said, they're responsible for something else, another living thing. And they were brilliant with them. But I could see what the teachers were talking about originally, you know, and they did display a little bit of that behaviour afterwards, but nothing like that near the ponies. So it was, you know, it was interesting for sure. How often
would you say that facilities are able to invite you back for visits, versus how often would you say is the cadence to really see the benefits?
What would you say? Like, how many times do they?
Yeah, because I'm sure that there's, like we were saying, like budget constraints sometimes, that there's only so many visits that they can organize for the kids or the homes or the facilities.
I mean, I think sometimes it's quite often people who have have an animal, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, if there's somebody who understands animals, or especially if they are in the equine world themselves, they are the ones that really want to push it. So they'll be the ones that will say, you know, I really want to get you in because I know what an impact it will have. Yeah. And they're kind of the ones that I have seen. Because I think also some people, and I completely understand it, some people are scared. Like, so even fully grown adults will be scared of the ponies because they're an animal. They've never seen one. Even though they're tiny, you know, they are still an animal and they're still unpredictable. So I do think that is a little bit of the problem. People are worried about them, and perhaps have them indoors, but I don't know what the constraints are or restrictions. I just think that it's financial, it's the unknown. But when I do go to a facility, I think pretty much nearly all the facilities that I've been to in the last year, I've been back to at least once. Okay.
So it's not like a once a month or once every 6 months.
Some do. Okay. So a couple that I mean, I'm trying to think of numbers. I mean, maybe 6 or 7 facilities that I'll go back to once a month. Okay. And I really like those ones because I can really see the benefits. I am building up a really good rapport with some of the residents and some of the students. You know, you get to know what people like and don't like, or you need to maybe do a little bit more in encouragement with a certain child or a certain person. So I really enjoy those ones because I feel like I'm a member of the staff. Yeah. I feel like
and you can be more involved in the progress almost because you're more actively there rather than the long stretches.
Absolutely.
Of
or
a year.
You know, I'll hit someone say, you know, I'll make sure that she's stroking with the right hand because that's the side that she needs to do the exercise with. So, you know, you get to know what people should and shouldn't be doing, or if you know, there's a couple of people that I know like to lead the pony, so I'll a couple of homes, she'll actually walk around the whole home with me leading the pony, which is probably her exercise for the whole week, but you know, she loves, because she used to work with horses. So I do sometimes think certain homes I go to purely for that one person, but it makes it all worthwhile. Obviously we see other people, but you know, we do kind of focus it on a little bit sometimes when they're so enthusiastic. But yeah, I forgot what the original question was now.
I guess what would you recommend as like if money wasn't an issue, you know, because I think also one of the missions of this show is obviously to shine a light on amazing local businesses like yours, but also I think to kind of spread a bit of an awareness and maybe even bring it to you know, a level where like people can actually see, oh, this is actually worth considering, even just supporting, you know, and financially I would say. So if money wasn't an issue, like what would you think would be your recommended routine? I do think if they could afford to do it every month, every 6 weeks, it would be really nice. Because we can mix it up. Whenever I go to the home that I go to once a month, we do different things every time. You know, in the summer we've been washing their tails, we've been washing their bodies, we've been cleaning tack, we've been picking feet out. So it's kind of like a mini stable management side of things. So I think when you go more often, you build up a rapport with people. And like you say, they look forward to it, they remember it. But having said that, when I go back, you know, to places that haven't had us for say 6 months or 12 months, it's still lovely, and it's kind of a treat. So I suppose you've got to get that happy medium, don't you? Because you don't want to do something too much that people then start thinking, you know, it's the pony's coming again and resenting it, but also doing it enough for them to remember. So it's kind of, everywhere's so different. Yeah. But it's always a nice surprise or a nice thing to look forward to. Yeah. I love how you mentioned the sort of the social impact, but I like that you reference also your relationship building with the staff. So obviously Dinky Ponies, I mean, there's a big like therapeutic element, but it's not just about the ponies. It's really about kind of
the combination.
Yeah. And the community building aspect, which I think is important. Do you feel like that almost strengthens the internal, I don't know, I don't want to say like atmosphere of the facilities, but do you talk to the staff?
Oh, yeah. And actually, especially at the hospital when I go to visit, I always say, yes, I'm there for the residents, but I'm also really there for the staff, because they need a perk and a pick-me-up as well. They do such an incredible job that if they can have a little mini pony visit them for the day at their workplace to make a bit of a, you know, put a few smiles on people's faces and cause a little bit of commotion, that really helps. You know, the amount of people say, oh, can I get a selfie with the pony, and can I do this and can I do that? And honestly, I do think it's just as much therapy for the staff, who work really long hours, really hard, really difficult jobs, and they love it. They love the ponies going in to visit. And the ones that I do visit regularly, I do feel like I've got a rapport with them, and they treat me so nicely, so kind. They're so welcoming, and it makes it feel, you know, because it can be a bit nerve-wracking. You know, you're going into a place with a live animal, potentially 2 live animals. Anything can happen, and sometimes it does. And but they're so kind, so helpful. You know, they can never do. You know, it's just such a nice environment to work in. And because of the job that they do, they're also caring and friendly. And it makes such a difference. You know, I sometimes turn up and I feel like I shouldn't even be like, I feel like I'm not working, because like they'll say, do you want a cup of tea, or do you want this? I turned up the other day at a party and I was given like the food that the guests were eating, and I don't know, sometimes I just think it's just too much fun. It's like, I really enjoy it. Yeah, it's good.
Well, I think it's important that you say that, because, and that's something that I know we chatted about, making sure you're comfortable talking about the financial aspects of running this business.
Yes.
And I think it's very important for people to know, because on one end, you love what you do, which is, I think, you know, what most people aspire to in their careers, whatever they may be, is when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like a job.
No.
But that said, it is a job. You have financial considerations. There are realities that can be very burdensome, and you're not, and I mean, you know, you're not necessarily running a nonprofit. I mean, that would obviously be just as difficult, but you're running a business with a purpose. Can you just talk to us about, I guess, like the difficulties of that? You have to, I guess you also have to find a balance, because as much as you'd love to visit everyone and help everyone, you have to consider the costs so you can continue to do what you do.
Well, I mean, this is my first business, so it's been an eye-opener anyway.
Is it your first business?
Yes.
Oh my God, I mean, it's so successful.
Well, not yet, but it's been a massive eye-opener, and I still don't, people often say, you know, how is it financially? And at the moment, the first year, you're never gonna, you know, everyone says to me, the first couple of years of a business, you know, it's outgoing, and it is, you know, you have to buy trailers and ponies and equipment, and you know, there's always something to pay. Farriers, dentists, vets being a big one, and public liability. I mean, I couldn't find anyone to insure us to begin with, because it's such a niche thing, taking ponies into buildings and being around people. So yes, it is expensive, and the reason I started it was because I couldn't afford to have ponies for the sake of having ponies as lawn ornaments, but at the same time I wanted to do something for other people, so hence where it all kind of evolved. But yeah, I mean, finances, like any business, isn't it? At the moment it feels like it's a lot of outgoings.
I mean, we saw on social media, I saw that you did the campaign.
And I was just about to say, that is my biggest, I'd say, worry when it comes to vets, because you just do not know, touch wood, when or however much you're going to need when it comes to those sort of things.
Tell us, because I know you told us before, but tell us what happened with one of your ponies not too long ago. Yeah,
so she just wasn't well one evening. I noticed she wasn't well.
This is Georgie?
This is Gracie. Little Grey, the baby. And she's just got a nasty habit of bolting her food down. She just is greedy, and she just likes to inhale her dinner.
Hashtag relatable.
A bit like my children probably is what, like how I can relate to it. So I noticed she wasn't right. I luckily called the vet. She believed to have a obstruction in her airway, so we took her into the hospital emergency. But the worry at that point was surgery, because with horses, when they have tummy ache, it's lethal. So they cleared the obstruction, had throat, but then they were worried there was an obstruction further down, which there was. But to cut a long story short, they didn't need to operate.
How much would have that been?
Well, they said it could have been anywhere between 3,000 and 10,000, which to somebody who's just started, well, to most people, I don't think most people could afford, especially for a mini Shetland pony. You know, it's such a massive cost. So I always worry for those sort of things. And obviously there is insurance, and that's what I'm looking into at the moment, but it is very expensive. So you then have to weigh up, you know, whether or not you pay out for X amount each month for the potential of something happening, but then you're covered. So it's a lot of weighing up. So at the moment, a lot of what I make is going into like a fund to
just in case.
Yeah, because you just don't know what's going to happen. But
it's because you did mention, like, I mean, you look at the animals from how much they're worth, but then the value,
the sentimental,
is
and
priceless.
Also, and that's the thing, because of what they do and because of how they are, you know, they've got such lovely temperaments and such lovely manners. It is quite hard to find ponies that will fit the bill. So I don't know. It's one of those difficult things that hopefully I can find an insurance company that I can afford, and then that takes,
because insurance isn't cheap for an animal.
No, it's not. One of my biggest outgoings each month is the public liability insurance, but I just think people don't quite realise the hidden costs behind the scenes. You know, the things that feed, you know, and shavings and the rent for the field, and you know, there's lots and lots of things that make up. I wouldn't like to. Once you start adding it all up, you then think, oh, you know. Is it worth it? But it is, because I enjoy it, and that's the main thing for me at the moment. As long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing, I will do it. And if it can make me a bit of money for the family, then great. At the same time, if it can pay for the ponies to be looked after, brilliant. If we can do a combination of all those things, even better.
No, because I think, and there's really nothing wrong. I think sometimes there's this weird, you know, we look at either charitable organizations or organizations that have this like wonderful social impact, wonderful mission, and we don't really think that, like, how are these business, you know, that they're deserving of making money. There's nothing wrong with that, and especially if you consider that, like, that's actually necessary for the activities to keep going. Because I mean, you can't, at some point, you can't put yourself in debt.
No.
If it's not actually paying for itself.
Well, exactly, and that's when you'd have to sort of like draw the line, wouldn't you? But
and to be able to like put food on the table
to
for
live.
your family.
Yeah,
it's not, there's nothing greedy about that.
No, and I'm very fortunate that my husband has got a job. So at the moment, all of the money that I am making goes into the business. Set it up. Yeah. So I hope within, I don't know, I have no idea, but I would hope within time that would change. But who knows animals, because that's the problem. You just don't know. The food changes, the farrier changes, the vets. You know, it's all stuff that is kind of up and down.
Everything could go great, and then bam, 10 grand like that.
Exactly. And then that will wipe out the whole of, say, the last 3 years. You know, so I don't know. You just have to hope for the best.
What are your current revenue streams then? Like, is it purely with the I guess like the sessions, the hired sessions? Do you get any is there any sort of like grant, or is there any like public program that supports animal
not
therapy?
that I've found.
Okay.
Not that I've found at the moment.
Have you connected with other similar organizations that do that? Yeah.
So it's again, social media has been a brilliant tool for that, because
for networking too.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
business to business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm quite, I wouldn't say friends, but I'm acquaintances with quite a few people on social media who do the same thing as me in different areas of the country. I get quite a lot of emails and messages from people wanting to start up. I feel a bit of a fraud for them messaging me, but I've only been doing it I've only been doing it a short time. That's the first thing I say. I'll say, you know, I'm happy to help, but I haven't been doing it very long myself. I'm still learning. I had someone from Australia message me last night to say, you know, I've been following you, you know, you've inspired me to do something similar. I'm doing the parties, but I want to do what you're doing in the care homes. But I think they're health and safety is a bit tighter, so that she's struggling with that sort of thing. So I just kind of gave her a few ideas, but like I say, I do feel a bit of a fraud because I'm still the one that's kind of like
you're still learning too.
But no, it's really, really helpful speaking to people in the same boat. You know, when I have I had an incident the other day when there was a little bit of an accident in the care home with one of the animals. And I did think, oh man, I'm not sure I can carry on doing this. You know, it was quite embarrassing. And I messaged this lady who I've met on social media, and she was brilliant. She came back saying, oh my God, she said, I've been doing it for 6 years, and that's happened a few times. So, you know, please don't worry. Please don't stop because of those things. But it's nice to be able to bounce things and even just bouncing off ideas or suggestions if you've got a hurdle with something or if you're not sure about your prices. And it's quite a niche field. There's not that many people, so you don't want to do the wrong thing. So actually having other people to
having a business support is really important.
It has been really, really helpful. And they're great. They're lovely. They're I think you've got to be, when you're working with animals, very character building, especially in the winter. You know, you've got someone else to sort of moan to about going out all hours in the snow and trying to unblock the water trough that's been frozen for the last 3 days, and I remember speaking to someone saying, you know, I've got the ponies are just so wet, I don't know what to do, like I'm going into care homes. And she said, oh, you know, I use this hairdryer, or I do this, or I use this chalk. And so it's just lots of different ideas, which is helpful. Like anything, any business, you know.
It's good to have, I think it's really good to have a network of like-minded entrepreneurs, and you know, because I think you get to benefit from everyone's own style
who
of
understand. I mean, I think it's the understanding, you know, it's
and just the pressure, I guess, like you said, it's your first business, but it's your business, so you know, you got to figure out all these unpredictable things. What's so I mean, obviously, because I just keep thinking about how it's crazy that there's not, you know, some public fund or like support or you know, just a way to so obviously the costs go into the taking care of the ponies, making sure you're putting things away for the just in case stuff, and then your revenue comes from, I guess, the facilities who do have the budget to hire sessions. Have you chatted with them about if they get some sort of funding or support? Grant, because I mean, I cannot for the life of me imagine that this Dinky Ponies wouldn't be able to get that kind of. So I mean, those are the organizations you want to support.
Yeah, absolutely. But it may be because I'm not a charity. I have come across quite a few hurdles because I'm not registered as a charity, and it is something that I have been sort of looking at, but I don't know. I'm not very good with figures. So, but I know that all of the care homes get an enrichment allowance.
Okay.
They're all different. So, but they obviously have a monthly allowance they can spend on their enrichment.
Are all of them private or?
No, some of them. So again, and every care home is so different. So I don't know, and I have heard just recently, I'm not sure how true it is, about schools having some sort of enrichment for therapeutic grants, but again, I haven't had a chance to look into that yet, but not that I know. If you know of any, just let me know.
Well, that's it. No, that's why I'm asking questions, because I remember going through you know, setting up this docuseries, and it was really it was a very difficult choice to make between going the nonprofit route, which obviously has its whole other loopholes, and making this a registered for-profit business. But there's a very interesting sort of layer that I've noticed for-profit business, but that's considered a social enterprise.
Okay.
And that has the social impact, which then could open conversations to potentially some doors for grants and things like that. But I mean, I guess thank God for social media, because I mean, obviously, you know, there's then opportunities for doing fundraisers and things like that. Like, what's your experience with that?
Well, I mean, that with Gracie being poorly just recently, it was actually other people that suggested it, because my followers sort of said, you know, can we set up a GoFundMe? And I don't know, to begin with I was a little bit uncomfortable with it, because I just thought, you know, I'm not sure. But then the the iller she got, the more worried I got. And
Yeah.
I thought, actually, what have I got to lose? If people want to, and I do have quite a few people come to me and ask, can we make a donation? Like completely
Without you
aside,
asking.
without any illnesses or anything. So I don't know. I did set one up, and I'm glad I did, because it did take a massive weight off my shoulders. Like I can't even tell you. I still haven't had the bill through for the vets yet, though, so I don't know quite how it will work out. But in that instance, amazing. And I said to a friend of mine the other day, and I'm not quite sure if I sounded a bit odd, but I said to her, when Gracie was ill, and I felt really negative and worried, and I thought that was pretty much the end. And I've always been very open on social media. I've always said that I would be honest and open, and I pretty much share. I think that's what you have to either be a closed book or an open book on social media. And I'm kind of one of those open books. I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve, and I tell things that maybe I shouldn't always tell. I don't know. And I was deliberating as to whether or not I should share about the Gracie scenario. The problem I worry about with social media is the backlash, so the negativity. So if I was going to share that she was poorly, people might then turn around and sort of say,
What
well,
did you
why?
do?
What did you do? Why did she get like this?
Yeah, so you were worried about sharing everything, and
Yes,
the impact, the backlash, and
the backlash.
Yeah.
So you do have to worry how much you share, but I do share a lot.
That's such a shame, though. I mean, like, you feel like no matter what, there's always somebody that's going to spin it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's part of the negativity, isn't it? But I do think with social media, for me, I know everyone has different opinions. For me, it's a really good tool.
Yeah.
And as soon as I did put something on social media about Gracie being really poorly, I don't know what it was. I mean, everyone was sending so many lovely thoughts, prayers, best wishes. I felt so much, I don't know, I felt like, it's so strange to say, but I felt like I was sharing the problem. I felt like it wasn't just on me. And I just felt better about it. So then as soon as the donations started coming in, that was another massive weight off my shoulder, because I thought, well, at least I've got a little bit of money behind me to pay for whatever I'm going to have to pay for.
And I guess it's also just something that's quite validating to say, listen, like this isn't just you thinking you're doing something good.
No, that's right.
It's all of us.
This is
all
a whole,
what you do. Yeah.
And it's all the followers, they are great, and their positivity is great. But also, I do like to share the bad bits. So the reality bits, the bits that do actually happen, that, yes, I could have completely missed that chapter out of my social media book, but then I would have felt like I was lying, because I'd have gone quiet for a couple of weeks. I would have been really stressed, and then potentially there would have been 4 ponies instead of 5.
Yeah. And you know what? I think people are smart, and they can figure things out. And
I think so. I think so. So I'd rather be honest and open. To my detriment, I think sometimes, maybe.
No, but I think that's what, I mean, look, I think you're fantastic.
You have to say that.
No,
You're
I'm
on
not.
record.
No, I'm not. I'm biased, but I'm also not. And I do having background obviously in marketing and social media. I think that is also where people are going. We've gone so much into this like manicured image of the perfect highlight reels that now people are actually looking for the no filter, the real raw behind the scenes. I think people appreciate vulnerability, and I think that it just people can feel more connected because
it's realistic though as well, isn't it? It's
more
life.
Yeah.
Okay, I might film a random video of me lying in a field with the ponies or being in the rain, and I look like I've just been dragged through a hedge backwards, but actually it's reality. If you're working with animals, you're working outside, you're working in all weathers, you're not going to be pristine. And I've noticed that a lot more, because obviously once you go into care homes, the camera, or the hospital especially, I've noticed the hospital, the cameras are everywhere, and it's not until you get home and you see all these pictures, and your hair's like all up here because you've been out working in all weathers, and then you go inside. But it's realistic, Yes, I'd love to look lovely all the time, but it's not going to happen when you're working with animals. But yeah, social media is is great for marketing, is great for getting the word out and connecting and communication. There are negatives like with anything, but I've only had a couple of instances when it's been a real negative, and I've kind of just wiped them off.
You have to.
I think you do. If you dwell on it too, I can't even remember what the negatives were. That's how much I've wiped them off. But yeah, you do have to. And I found out blocking is quite a good tool.
Yeah.
Because I don't want my account to block the trolls.
Yeah.
I don't want my account to be all horrible and nasty and bad vibes. It's a nice, happy account. Mm-hmm. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Block away.
And
so before obviously being conscious of time and very much looking forward to the visit that we'll be able to join you on. So 2 things I want to ask you. First, as your, parting gift for our audience who are listening, who are learning about all these wonderful businesses with great missions, through your lens of building a more sustainable and resilient future, what would you hope, or what would you want people to just consider and think about?
Oh, wow.
It's a heavy one.
Yeah. What would I want people to think about?
What's your hope for the future as a professional?
As in my business hope?
Yeah, or just through your lens, yeah.
Well, I suppose for me, I've had quite a lot of red tape, and it's been quite complicated to get started. There was quite a lot of negativity, just like
naysayers.
As in, getting my license was quite complicated. I think it's because it's quite, like I've said before, it's quite niche. People don't really know too much about it. So I suppose, going forward, but then do I want it to be, if it's too easy, then everyone's going to be doing it. And actually then, yes, it would affect my business, but also people might do it who aren't really qualified to do it. Not saying I am qualified, but there are lots of people that might do it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So in some ways I'd like it to be easier for people to do, but then in some ways maybe not. So it's kind of, I don't know. I just want people to be kind, genuinely kind. Social media, in the world, in care homes, I have seen so much, and it sounds cliche, but I've seen so much sadness, and it's really quite depressing. But actually, even if you just say someone's name, or if you tap them on the shoulder, or if you have a little bit of contact or a little bit of communication, the smile, the impact that someone can then have on the rest of their day is lovely. But I don't know. I don't want too many more vet bills. And I don't know. Kindness, I suppose.
Kindness.
Yeah.
I think that's nice. I think we can all receive and apply a little bit more kindness in big and small ways.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be much. Even people who said, I'm so sorry, I can't sponsor you, I haven't got the funds, but I am there to support you. And that means massive amount to me. That the fact that somebody who has taken the time to write a little note to say that they are sorry they haven't got the money, but that they support me, that's as much.
Then that helps you keep going.
Absolutely. Yeah. So on the days when you think, okay, can I keep doing this? Because you do have off days, you have rubbish days, you think, is it really worthwhile? And then when you get a message like that, it's so lovely. It really is. And it's just, that's kindness, isn't it?
So where can people who are interested in finding out more about Dinky Ponies, where can they find you? What's the area that you service? So
I've got a Facebook and Instagram account, both Dinky Ponies. And we are based in Oxfordshire, Wiltshire kind of location. So we travel about an hour. That's our max for the ponies. I don't like to travel them too far. But yeah, anywhere, any facility, school, hospital, care home, bakery, anything. We
parties,
if we
or
can,
even just
parties, private sessions, anything. If we can help, I will always try and help. To my detriment sometimes, but I struggle to say no, put it that way. But an hour out of our remit is kind of where we go.
So they can reach you through Facebook,
Instagram,
Instagram, email, I guess.
Email and mobile,
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
No, thank
Sarah.
you for having
This
me.
was like an amazing chat.
Oh, thanks.
I feel like I don't know, I'm so happy to, I'm so happy to be able to have somebody like you, because there's such a great, important social mission. But I love that it has so many layers, because
yeah, that's the thing, and you never know quite what layer to go down, because you can talk about so many different aspects of it.
You're supporting individuals directly, like the residents, the children, like you said, but you're also supporting the people who
support them. No, exactly.
It's so important to take care of those who take care of us,
and it really is
to not feel that they're alone doing that,
because they have so much pressure, and they have so much to deal with, that we have to remember to look after them. I don't know, I don't know if we're still recording or not, but I went to the hospital the other day, and I went to a ward, and I went in to see this lady who was absolutely delightful, and we spent, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, and Poppy had her head on her bed, and she was just stroking her, and we talked for a bit, and she seemed, so lovely. And when Poppy's had enough, she just, I kind of just go with, so she wandered out, and I went to the corridor, and everybody was in floods of tears, and I suddenly thought I'd missed something, and the staff were just sort of, wiping their faces, and I said, oh, was that okay? And they said, no, it's lovely, it was really lovely, but she's going home today, and she's on end of life.
Oh, wow.
And I actually felt really disappointed that I hadn't spent longer. So I said, how are we doing for time? Do you think I could go back in again? And they all sort of looked confused. And I said, well, I just feel like I would really like to go back in and just spend a little bit more time, knowing what I know now. So we went back in again, and we spent another, 10, 15 minutes. But I just, for my own benefit, it was almost selfishly, I wanted to go back in there to spend time with her. Luckily, Poppy also did too, because quite often if you leave a room, she's not going to want to go back in again, but she obviously knew her purpose. So we went back in again, and we just sat in there, and we don't, sometimes you don't even talk about much, but you don't need to talk, because the pony is doing the talking. And but it was really lovely. And I was pleased for both me and for the patient that we went back in, and she just got a little bit more, because sometimes it isn't all happy, and it's difficult. It's difficult, and life is difficult, isn't it? But if you can just create a little tiny bit of happiness for somebody,
or just be there,
be there.
The ministry of presence is just,
and she really appreciated it. You could see that. She was telling me all about her dogs that she was going to go home to, and it was really great. It was nice. I was pleased.
Thank you for sharing.
No, you're welcome.
We're definitely going to make sure to do this wonderful story justice.
I hope so.
Yes. Now let's go see the pony.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go meet the star.